You're telling me that you don't want young people on your websites. You're also telling me you currently don't think there are young people on your websites. Those can't both be true.
I'm saying that young people, if they are coming to any adult sites, are not coming to adult sites for the first time through that portal. They are coming through it through social media.
All websites on which pornographic material can be found must introduce robust age-checking techniques, such as demanding photo ID or running credit card checks for UK users by July, according to Ofcom. Bob, at present, Pornhub lets viewers click a button to show that they're age. Do you welcome the decision to introduce a more enhanced form of age verification?
We do. We're strong believers, strong supporters in age verification as part of a comprehensive ecosystem to protect children online.
Okay, Sarah, you've said that Ofcom's plan is going to be ineffective, haphazard, and dangerous. We can come back to precisely why in a moment. But to start with, how many under-18s are viewing content on Pornhub at the moment?
So we don't track demographics. Pornhub is not a site that you need to register for. But my answer to that would be none. We have a zero tolerance for young people on our website. Our websites are for adults only. They're adult entertainment. So the answer to that would be we have a zero tolerance. So we have none. And we also welcome laws that would age verify, because we believe that industries that are regulated, rights come with those regulations. Because we have a zero tolerance towards having children in the content as well as visiting our site, we are for adults only. We hear sometimes that young people come to sites similar to ours for education. We are not an education site, simply for adults.
At present, visiting Pornhub, you just click a button that says you're over 18. You say...
We say that's not enough. We do believe in age
verification. But when you say none, when you say... I mean, you're literally telling me that everybody who does that, nobody who does that is lying. You must know that. I mean, that can't be right. Surely you do believe there are people under 18 using Pornhub. Surely you do.
I would answer that by saying that I do not believe that young people are coming to Pornhub or to other of our sites. And your government's data will show that the entry point for young people into adult entertainment is through social media. They don't type in the name of an adult site. They go through social media to get there. And I would point out also, when you mentioned that on our homepage, when a young person would come to our homepage, they see nothing. An adult that comes to our homepage sees nothing. There's an age verification, which we are saying is not enough. We do support age verification. And also on our homepage, it will show you how to parental control our website. We believe that parents shouldn't have to go to millions of websites to age gate their websites. And so for us, the parental control is right on the homepage. So we do want parents to have a role in this, but we believe there's another way. And that's why organizations like ours are so grateful to ICMEC for welcoming us into a working group that has tried to come up with a solution that we believe will work.
Bob, do you also believe that zero children are currently watching porn on Pornhub?
Common sense would tell me no. I believe that Aylo and the other companies that I've brought together to work with ICMEC on a kind of robust, practical solution, device-based age assurance, want age verification, and I believe they want it to be effective. And they've shown nothing but kind of forthrightness in that in working with us. But no, I also, as a former educator for a lot of my career, understand the ingenuity of children and understand their creativeness when it comes to working around systems and what adults want. So I imagine there are kids who find their way onto sites where they should not be.
I mean, Sarah, I have to believe that you think there is a problem, otherwise you wouldn't be taking steps to address it. So let's move on from that. According to the Children's Commissioner for England, the average age at which children here first watch view pornography is now 13 years old. Substantial numbers of people view it at a younger age, 27% by 11, 10% by the age of 9. What age do you think it's okay for young people to start watching porn?
When you're of legal age, when you're 18.
Okay, what impact do you think watching pornography before the age of 18 has on those children?
We will say, and we've said, that we do not want children on our website. The company does not believe that young people should be on adult entertainment sites, period. I can elaborate why we don't believe that, but it's a non-starter. We do not want young people on our website. We don't believe that this is for young people. This is for adults. It's entertainment. It's fantasy.
You're telling me that you don't want young people on your websites. You're also telling me you currently don't think there are young people on your websites. Those can't both be true.
I'm saying that young people, if they are coming to any adult sites are not coming to adult sites for the first time through that portal. They are coming through it through social media. They are coming through it through search engines. How they get there is also an important piece in this discussion. And young people are exposed to many things that they shouldn't be exposed to. And that's why laws like this are right. We do not want young people consuming cannabis. We do not want young people consuming alcohol. I'm not in those industries, but I know that's true. I know that we don't want that.
If I'm understanding this correctly, what you want is device-led age verification. So it's basically it's governed by the device people are approaching things from. That's basically saying it's not our problem, isn't it?
Oh, not at all. Not at all. Because, and you'll see through the discussions that we've had with ICMEC, is that we believe it's an all of internet. We also believe that parents and guardians, government, and industry all have a role in this. So we're looking for a solution that's effective. So that really does get to the issue that we're discussing here, which is keeping kids safe.
Sure, but
so it has to be effective.
The solution that you want is it's device-led. So that basically means the device that people are accessing the internet on, the controls are there on the device. They're not on the website.
So Aylo has jumped in to support an initiative from ICMEC.
Yep.
So have many of the social media companies, online dating sites, gaming companies, and
because it makes it none of their problem.
No,
Not
that's
at all.
inaccurate. Completely inaccurate. What it does is it makes every company who is responsible for a child's interaction online responsible for their safety. So everyone from the device manufacturer to the operating system to the apps to the websites to the app stores, it holds each of them accountable.
Okay.
The way that we have set up device-based age verification, the way that we are advocating for it, is that an operating system or an app store will send a signal to the website or the app around that child's age, only their age, not their address.
How will it know that child's age?
Not that ever. So their age will have to be verified at the operating system or app store level. Those companies would be held accountable for the veracity of that, for the truthfulness of the age. Then the companies that receive it would be held responsible for receiving it and then acting appropriately according to the law.
This feels a lot like a complicated way of saying what I just said, which places the responsibility on the devices, not the websites, because the websites are themselves going to be only responding to what they're told by whatever's governing the devices. On the devices, that's putting the onus on parents, isn't it?
Absolutely not. It's putting the devices on the app store owners or the operating systems.
But parents are in control of what devices their children use. Shared devices exist across the board, particularly in lower-income families. Lower-income families are much more likely to share
profiles.
But again, it depends upon parents setting up those profiles. Look, this is what some children told the Children's Commissioner. Online safety is non-existent and parents are so ill-informed and don't put restrictions in place across the class spectrum. So I have friends who have seen porn, fighting and other inappropriate content and they're only 10 or 11 years old or younger. It feels like there's nothing in place to help. Again, parents have got to do this or else nobody's going to do this. Surely. You have a new computer, either a parent sets it up and says one of the users of this computer is 11 years old, or they don't. It comes down to them.
So I'll say only, and Bob certainly understands the ecosystem much better, but I'll say that every single device would be blocked. So in fact, the parent doesn't have to do anything, whereas today, a parent has to go to millions of sites to parental control, whereas it would be an overnight update, or when you buy a new device, it would be blocked. That would be the default.
You mean it's opting in rather than opting out?
Correct. The adult has to opt in or it's blocked.
But then once the adult has opted in, the adult is responsible for the child not using the same computer. You can see why...
No, then you'd have profiles, as Bob said.
You can see why parents are crying out for Ofcom to be involved in this, because parents feel adrift and lost in this completely.
Ofcom is they're a good regulator. They're a proportionate regulator. They listen to feedback. They engage with organizations like mine. They engage with industry. The public needs that strong regulator. The UK is lucky to have Ofcom. So yes, I completely agree with you, but I completely disagree that it takes responsibility away from any particular company. It shares responsibility broadly across all companies. That's what the public should be interested in. The technology for this exists now. The companies need to use it.
I'd like to use the parallel of somebody buying a weapon, for example. Okay. You're basically saying the responsibility is shared between the person who lets somebody walk through the door of the gun shop and the person who sells the gun over the counter. But you're also saying the person who sells the gun over the counter is relying on the person who's letting them through the door to verify the fact that they're the age they have to be. I don't see how that's different from what you're saying.
We think identity should be, we're concerned about the idea, both from an enforcement and effectiveness perspective, as well as for things like privacy and security online, of people having to provide their identification to 10,000 websites or apps. Most kids, I think the studies say, use like 40 apps, something like that. Parents can't be the digital managers for their children anymore. They have to have a role. We believe in strong parental engagement and involvement. But to put all the onus on parents is not that. Nothing will ever stop people from lying, right? So the question, if you're suggesting that parents will lie so that their
No, I'm suggesting parents won't be involved. I'm suggesting parents will have computers that their kids will use because they may be a family that only owns one computer, or they may simply not understand how to use their computers. Certainly not as well as their children do. Look, we're having a huge debate in this country at the moment about the availability of knives being bought online in the wake of the sort of, the horrific Southport murders. Many people feel that should be the responsibility of the websites, not down to parents, not down to anything at the household end to enforce this. This is the same debate, isn't it?
And that's why we're saying by default, these devices will be locked. And we're not speaking about this in the absence of facts. We have seen in other jurisdictions how age verification has been implemented. And Bob can certainly speak about, he lives in the US, and we have seen the introduction of age verifications in states that have not been effective and have not been enforced. And that when we meet with governments here, we have facts and data to share with them. We're not speaking about this in the absence of understanding how it works.
And I'll tell you what we've seen. So when age verification measures are relying solely on apps and websites, what we know from the trends we've seen in the United States is that people just download VPNs, right? We've seen a massive increase in the search for VPNs online as soon as sites withdraw from a particular state, right? Any 10-year-old knows how to use a VPN and can download it.
But do you not think if they know how to use a VPN and can download it, they're also going to figure out how to log into their computer and their computer thinks they're their parents? I mean, look, I think we're starting to go around the circle here.
There's no silver bullet to age verification.
The trend with US tech companies from X and Meta is to get rid of content moderation, is to be less responsible for content.
Completely opposed to that.
Is the internet generally getting safer for young people or much less safe for young people, do you think, Bob?
I think that in some ways it's getting much less safe and in some ways it's getting safer. I think that it's not a blanket answer to that.
Look, as part of the survey for the Children's Commissioner, young people spoke of what they felt is like the sort of the unbearable pressure to view hardcore pornography, even if they didn't want to, and they felt much of it was degrading. Talking about the content, degrading violence against women, degrading women. Talking about the content of stuff on Pornhub, are both of you comfortable with that?
I mean, Bob, I'll speak to that because it's a company that we own.
Yeah.
So I'm sure your listeners can hear that I am a middle-aged woman. I consume porn with my loved ones. And I believe that people have an opportunity to consume as adults what they'd like to on the internet.
Right.
So when you speak about what that's how I feel as a woman. I can speak to that. But on the side, as a company, I can say that our website, we have the ID and consent of every single individual that consumes, that creates the content and is partnering in that. So we have co-verification. No other website does that. No other social media website does it. We are the only adult entertainment website in the world that has ID and consent for every single piece of content we have. And then
how do you verify the age of performers?
We have their ID. We have their ID.
You have a signed consent form and they send their ID.
And we have their ID, government-issued ID.
How do you verify that it's the same person who sent in the ID?
Yeah,
what sort of technology can do that?
We use an AI company, Yoti here. We use that for verification, but we also use the likeness. So an individual has to put their face and their ID, then they get approved to load content. You cannot load. You will not be able to. You will not be able to. You have to be a verified user to be able to load content onto our website. That doesn't exist anywhere else in the internet.
It's niche, I know, but what if they're wearing a mask?
Oh, they have to take off their.
Right.
Yes, of course. If that we do permit individuals to create content without showing their faces, but this is in the back end. That will never be shown, obviously. But then over and above that, no piece of content goes up onto our website without a human verifying every single piece of content on our website, as well as AI and IT tech tools. And then after
But
that,
you haven't taken old stuff down. This is new content.
oh yes, we have. Of course, we have.
But you're not verifying in the same way old content. I mean, I've seen your terms and condition, your policies. Basically, you've said this applies to new content. You're not verifying the identities of everyone in all the content that exists on your website.
We have ID and consent for every single piece that's up on our website.
Even
verified.
you've gone back and done that historically.
Yes.
For every single piece of content on Pornhub.
We removed. I was not there at the time,
Yeah.
but this was something that the company did prior to our acquisition. They removed pieces that they did not have
I'm sorry,
consent and ID
just
for.
want to totally check this. There is amateur content on
Yes,
Pornhub
yes.
that is maybe 15 years old. Your company, since it brought in these rules, has gone back and verified the identity of every performer in there.
That's part of our process, exactly. So when we.
But when you say it's part of our process, you mean
Yeah.
you've done that, or
We
you are
in the-
doing
yeah,
that?
exactly. That's exactly what we're in the process of doing.
Right,
Yes,
okay.
we have begun that process.
You've
yes.
begun that
but this
process,
has been
I
over
understand.
years
Yeah.
that they have, and this was prior to our acquisition. Pieces were removed, and then the introduction of ID for all.
When
performers.
do you expect to finish that process?
We've already announced it to moderators, to the models, that it's coming over the summer.
Okay.
For
No, but
our
so-
whole archived, yes, the whole entire archive.
So by this summer, you will have verified literally every piece of content on the website.
That's right.
Even the historic ones.
Yes.
Or removed them. Okay.
exactly.
I want to give you some examples of things that are currently available to watch on the website. People listening at home might want to turn down the radio because these might be disturbing or graphic, but I hope you'll understand our reasons for reading them out. Here's some. She likes them big. Teen gets her guts rearranged. She is just a hole. Broken sluts like it rough. She was half his age. Nympho teen can't get enough. She wanted to be famous. 1,000 bottles of baby oil didn't save her. 18-year-old first time. Rough sex after lingering photo shoot with 18-year-old teen model. These
Yes.
are all often violent, degrading acts against young women. And the youth aspect here is very important. These are appealing to people who are turned on by youth. Does that trouble either of you?
Well, I mean, you did say that they're 18, like
Yes.
they are verified as being 18.
Yes.
So I would simply say that we're not the arbiters of people's adult consumption. We provide a safe platform for adults, consenting adults, to consume safe content, and for adults to create safe content. So we aren't policing people's kinks, and that's not our job. Our job is to ensure that the content is safe and that it's being created in safety.
Sorry, Bob.
I was going to say, and certainly the International Center doesn't condone or support those kind of labels, right? I mean, our primary concern is that actual children not be involved in any way with porn.
Yep.
So not as content and not as users. So that's what our focus is with our engagement. But obviously, from a child protection perspective, anything that suggests or leads to or anything like that, we find objectionable.
Sarah, in your perspective, something that's featuring an 18-year-old girl that is, or says it's featuring an 18-year-old girl, is that designed to appeal to an 18-year-old boy, or is it designed to appeal to a 50-year-old man? And are you comfortable with both those outcomes?
Well, as I said, I'm not the arbiter of
But if we're
adult
talking, we're
entertainment.
talking about child protection here, and something that is normalizing that kind of thing, something that is normalizing.
It's legal, Hugo. It's legal to consume. As an adult, it is legal to consume. I'm not sure of your constitution here in the UK, but certainly in Canada, sex work and porn is constitutionally protected. I'm not the arbiter of what is the law in your country, and nor are you, and your listeners aren't either. I'm saying that the content that we are putting up on our website is legal.
Okay, but
It's for adults and only for adults.
So there's a disjunct here, because you're saying in terms of age verification, you want to do the right thing. You're ahead of the law. In terms of content,
I don't only want to do the
law
right
is
thing,
the
Hugo. We
excuse.
are doing the right thing.
Sure, but in terms of the content, the law is the excuse. You're saying if it's legal, it's fine. It's not our business to judge. That's basically what you're saying. There's no moral aspect to this at all.
It is not my business to judge adults who are consuming legal content on the internet. But it is my job, and it is our job, to ensure that we are working with government. That's why we're here. We came physically to the UK because we want to meet with government. there's a very important question in front of your government right now, which is how do we ensure to have a successful age verification process? We're here to share the data that we have from existing.
I understand that.
But
all that.
Hugo, it's important to us, and we've come here to meet, and it's so important to us that we be able to speak to your listeners because we believe that the population has a role in how government governs, and for the population to understand that age verification is important to us. We want to be regulated. We do not believe that young people should be consuming this content. We want age verification.
Right,
and that's why we're associating with groups.
You may believe it's possible to have an absolutely tight firewall that one day no young people will ever be able to view porn. I personally don't believe that, so I think the content is important. Are you able to tell me how popular the search terms like teen and young are on Pornhub?
So I will say that we also, you may not be aware of, and your listeners may not be aware of, a few things that we do have. We have deterrence messaging, and we do work with UK organizations to ensure that if an individual comes to our site and puts in a term that is not it either not legal or not healthy for them, we don't just simply say see results anyway. We have deterrence messaging. We want to capture people at the site where they are. And a lot of organizations want to work with us because they understand that they can't just simply turn a blind eye, that this doesn't exist. So we have deterrence messaging so that if an individual does put in something that may be harmful to them or others, they have immediate help available to them. So they can either contact experts to help them understand that what they're doing may be harmful. So we don't simply turn a blind eye and think we don't have any responsibility.
But your content creators, are they monetizing search terms like teen and young? Do they put these search terms in because they're going to get more clicks from your users and thus earn more money? Does that concern you at all?
Well, I would say that I believe that content creators are entitled to make money for their content. We do work with content creators to explain to them some of the terms that are going to be, that are understood by the larger world. But we do not permit youth. We don't permit words that would be child. We don't permit that in our titles.
Tiny teen. I mean, is
18
is youthful?
Is legal. 18 is legal. But if you were to say child, that is not permitted. It's not permitted in our titles. It's not permitted in our content. And humans moderate every single one of those pieces of content.
Right. Bob, I'm interested in knowing just where you are with your whole connection to this issue. The motives for your charity and being involved in this.
This is a great question. So ICMEC is not an ally of social media or the porn industry or the online gaming industry or any of that. We're an advocate for child protection, right? What we are looking for is practical solutions that will be effective and enforceable. And so in order to find those, we engage with a lot of the companies. So on many,
do they see you as an ally or as a useful tool or as a watchdog?
I think that they see us very much as an interested third party, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like the companies respect ICMEC very much. We respect what the companies are trying to do around child protection, of course. We respect Ofcom. We respect the Home Office and everybody else. The role we are playing is to, as kind of an independent organization, to say, here is a solution that we believe will be effective.
Yeah, understood.
And then to try to find out who else believes that it will be effective. That's why we got the companies together. That's why we meet with the regulators. Last month, I was in the UK at the invitation of a social media company to speak to members of the European Commission and the EU Parliament and that kind of stuff. I've been invited. I ask the companies that we are talking to please invite us if this is a topic, because I think we have something important to say about it. A lot of the times, we will be on the other side of debates with porn or social media or that kind of stuff, because we're interested in protecting kids. That said, we don't think that a solution that leaves industry behind or government behind is practical, feasible, or has any hope of being effective. So we want to bring those two sides together with third sector to say what can actually work for the benefit of children. We believe device-based works.
Sarah, you've been in Westminster this week. You've been speaking to people there. What kind of response have you been getting? What have you been hearing? What are you expecting from the government and from regulators?
Well, I'll speak to that very quickly, but I think Bob is even better placed because he's been having even more meetings. But first I'll say, when ECP started working with Aylo, we wanted to make a big shift. even meeting with you, Hugo, I suspect you've never met with any leadership in any of the adult companies. It's important to us to be transparent on the record. This certainly wasn't an easy interview, but we can't shy away from this, because how are we going to explain and destigmatize the industry if we're not transparent about it? So I'll say first, we were lucky enough to meet with decision makers, and they were very interested in the data that we've been able to collect, because over the years, as the government has been drafting legislation, there was a lack of data. They were drafting in the hypotheticals, but now we have data to share with regards to how there's an increase in searches for VPNs in the US, for searches for other sites that are not, as they don't have trust and safety regulations as we do. And that's a real worry for us, because you're just simply creating a workaround. And so government was very keen to understand the data that we have now, which we're very keen to share. And all of that information is certainly public and available on our website. But I'll let Bob speak to his meetings as well.
Sure. Bob,
Yeah, and
last word to you.
I've met with industry while I'm here. I've met with government agencies, and the message that I've been giving them is the same. If you're going to institute a law, do it in a way that is most likely to be effective and most likely to be enforceable. And for your listeners, if you're the public, you have a right to believe that the companies your children are engaging with are all taking responsibility for your child's safety and well-being online. And that means we need implementation that goes across the value chain. You can't isolate one side. You're carving up the internet in a way that children do not experience it. That won't work. The technology exists. The companies are willing. The research supports it. Device-based age assurance is the way that this needs to happen. You have a great regulator. You have a thorough law. It is a massive piece of legislation the public can be proud of. Does it go far enough? In some ways, yes. In one important way, no. If it leaves out some of the most influential companies on the internet, it has failed the British public and it has failed children.
Bob Cunningham, Sarah Bain, thank you very much indeed.